Hello everyone, and welcome to Straight Chilling. Each week we watch and review a horror film for your entertainment. You can send all questions and comments to straightchillingpodcast@gmail.com. And don't forget to keep chilling.
Yeah, we straight chillin', serial killing. 5 cold feelings on the mind, got you reeling. 5-star ratings from the floor to the ceiling. If you get your 1 star, no time for feelings. Got a demon DJ, all the 1s and 2s. By the name El Sabot, so don't get confused. So grab a seat by the fire, roast them all with 2. And prepare to hear the legend of the Straight Chillin' crew.
What up, nerds, and welcome to another claymated episode of Straight Chilling, the weekly horror movie review show where you chill and we kill, slice, dice, and chop up yet another horror movie. My name's Bob. I'll be your host for the evening. This is episode number 286, recorded Sunday, September 27th, 2020. Tonight we're going to be talking about our latest Patreon pick. This one was chosen by Thomas. The movie is The Happiness of the Katakuris from 2001. A Takashi Miike joint. Before we get into it, let me introduce everyone else on the show tonight. First up, calling in from Phoenix, Arizona, we got our boy, Randy Gandy G. Landy. What's up, man?
Hey! What's up?
Hey.
Hey.
It's good to see you. You look rested.
What the fuck are you doing? I don't get this bit you're doing.
Yeah, I don't know either. I'm just new boot goofing.
This is really coming off more as an introduction for you than for me.
Sorry.
It's all
life?
good, man. Nobody gives a shit about that.
Awesome.
All right. Yeah.
I like your hat.
Thanks, man.
It's
I'm a
festive.
hat boy today. I'm wearing my lid.
Hat Diddy. Last but not least, calling in from the Southern Korea, we got our boy Soju. What's up, man?
What up? It's your boy Konnichiwa Stains. Hello, Stain.
Oh, hello. Hi,
Yeah.
Stains.
I heard that stains means both hello and goodbye.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
Is that Hawaiian?
But it's only hello if it comes from the juice region of France. So
the juice region.
The old juice region.
It's only juice if it comes from Juice, France.
yes, of course. Otherwise, it's nothing but sparkling non-juice.
It's not getting the real stains there.
It's juice concentrate.
Your stains are going to be lacking.
Counterfeit stains.
Yeah, those stains are lacking stains.
You gotta have like a monocle on, or like one of those like jewelers fucking things, whatever you call those.
Yeah, the jeweler's monocle.
That's how you inspect wine.
Yes.
That's the joke.
Juice, you used to pick up the trash around a jeweler. What's that called?
Dude, I was certified.
You're a jeweler.
That's true.
Jewel stains.
Uncut jewel stains.
Let's tackle some housekeeping real quick before you get into the review. You only got 3 days left in the month of September to vote on our October poll pick, which is posted over on our Patreon website. If you support us at the $5 level or above, you get to decide on a movie we're talking about this October. The 3 movies you can vote between are Nightmare on Elm Street, Evil Dead, and Carrie.
Stains, ask Juice what those numbers are looking like.
All right. Mom?
What? Yes.
We're heading into October.
We're doing it.
How those numbers looking?
Oh, we're so close. We're probably going to be talking about Nightmare on Elm Street. Evil Dead's got a handful. I don't think we're talking about Carrie. So,
all right.
Yeah, that'll be a nice addition. Nice dish. It's a movie we've been meaning to talk about for a while.
Maybe it'll be a new straight chilling classic. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll bring the perspective that no horror aficionado could possibly have had about fucking Nightmare on Elm Street.
We got shit to say.
Talking about really unique takes. The hot cakes.
Wes Craven, just overrated. Just didn't know what he was doing. Really.
I don't even know what's the deal with this guy with long arms. I don't get it, bro. It don't make sense. Arms aren't that long, bro.
I don't even dream, so it's not even like a thing. Like,
dude, nails can't be on your hand, bro. That's not even real.
Look at this dude.
Bro, there's a lot of bros going on.
This is my bit called Bro Watches Nightmare on Elm Street. I don't know, bro. Arms aren't that long, bro. That's not, my wingspan ain't that big, bro. That ain't real.
Nightmare on Bro Street. I like it.
Yes.
Look at this nerd sweater. Get the fuck out of here, bro.
Who the fuck's scared of a sweater, bro? Take that shit off. Why don't you put on a tap out shirt, bro? Come on, get real.
This is a preview.
I ain't scared of you unless you're wearing your tap out shirt.
You fucking Christmas sweater head ass. Get out of here, bro. All right. Yeah. In other Patreon news, we do have one new brand spanking new Patreon supporter. We got to give shouts outs to.
Oh, yeah.
Big thanks to Phil B for signing up and support us on Patreon. It really does mean a lot to us, man. And of course, as is tradition, we got to give Phil the straight chilling salute. This one's for Phil.
Brand spanking new Phil.
Bob, were you talking through that?
No, I don't think so.
Okay,
Pretty sure.
all right.
Pretty sure it was not. I'm good at doing that though.
I thought there was a little blip, but okay, we're good.
Steely Phil, we certainly appreciate it. Thanks for slapping some asses.
Phil.
Yeah,
Phil B, right?
Phil
B. That's the guy who died in Night of the Scarecrow or whatever. What is that? Nightmare of the Scarecrow?
Night of the Living Scared Crows.
Dark Night of the Living Dawn of the Scarecrows.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite movie.
Oh yeah.
I think that's all we got happening on Patreon currently. Juice, do you have any YouTube or Twitch news?
I do not. House is clean.
Sweet.
Clean.
Sweet deal, Diddy. Let's go ahead and get into the main event. We're talking about the happiness of the Katakuris, and we're kicking it off with the back of the box.
What's on the back of the box?
All right.
Bob, you got this box, right?
No, I almost bought it. Actually, one of the main reasons I didn't, because Arrow Video did put out a really nice edition of this you can pick up. I was afraid I wouldn't get it in time to watch it before we actually recorded the show. So it is streaming on Amazon Prime and I think on Tubi. So if you're listening and you haven't watched it yet, it's pretty easy to find online. But also you can pick up the disc; it's out there. But yeah, this was released in 2001. Takashi Miike movie. Like I said previously, this was chosen by Thomas P, our lovely Patreon supporter. Thank you so much, Thomas.
Thanks, Tom.
The plot
Tom
synopsis.
was quick on the draw.
Yeah, you had to be.
Very.
You had to be. The plot synopsis for this one is as follows. A family moves to the country to run a rustic mountain inn, when to their horror, the customers begin befalling sudden and unlikely fates. Well played. Jill Mangs, had you seen this before? Would you recommend people check it out? Randy?
No, I had not seen this before. I had seen, I believe, a trailer sometime back, and I had kind of mentally checked off that I should watch it. And then, of course, because my mental faculties are that of a 95-year-old man, I forgot about it.
Sweet.
And so now I got my chance. Yeah, I'd be hard pressed to say it takes a very specific kind of person, I think, to enjoy this movie. So I think that if you have an interest in Takashi Miike, I always get this wrong.
Takashi Miike.
Takashi Miike. I always want to combine the two.
Actually, I'm probably still fucking it up. So.
Well, this guy who made this movie, this here Japanese fella that made this movie here, if you like his work, then give it a shot. Of course, I mean it's good to know your directors front to back. If you have an interest in like oddball Japanese cinema, then it's probably a good watch for you. It's like there's the horror element in this is so slight as to be negligible, so I wouldn't consider it for horror fans. Really, I would consider it more for musical fans than for horror fans. So it's a very, very niche sort of audience for this. I don't think it's a broad recommend for me.
All right, Juice. What about you?
I had never seen this film before, and I would not recommend it. It is some straight doo-doo brown. Bob, had you seen this movie before? And why do you love it so much?
Damn, painting me in a corner. This was a first-time watch for me as well. This is one that I just never even heard of. Wasn't really on my radar. I was definitely intrigued in watching it because we've talked about some Takashi Miike movies on the show before. And they're always at least very entertaining. Some of them are phenomenal, but this dude, he's got over like 100 movies that he's directed, literally over 100. I don't know that this is one that I would go out of my way to recommend to somebody. There's a lot of other Miike movies that I would recommend way before this. I will say it's heavy on the musical aspect, and I just generally struggle with musicals. So this is just not to my taste, and it's very much a comedy. The horror is pretty slight, like you guys were saying. I wouldn't really recommend it unless you are like really into musicals. I would assume that most people haven't seen a whole lot of like Japanese musicals, so that might be something interesting. You might get something out of that if you're a musical fan. But it's not to my taste. I wouldn't particularly recommend it to just like your outright horror movie fan. It's probably not gonna get you what you want. So yeah, that sounds like not so much of a recommend from the Straight Chilling.
You said it. You sounds like you just said the words.
Kind of
sounds like I'm saying
Don't beat
no.
around the old bush.
I don't want to paint myself into a corner, but I'm saying don't recommend.
I know what I'm saying, but I'm trying to sort of sum up collectively what we have just
I
said.
see. Okay, all of okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
We don't like bush here, Bob. Just go ahead and plow through that.
The only firm recommendation was a recommendation against. So
Right.
I think that speaks for itself.
We like a nice firm bush. Okay, let's talk about.
We like it firm.
We're going to talk about
Bush? What? Whoa.
No, Bob, we're plowing.
We're either going to
through the
speed
bush.
right through this and just skip that entirely, or no dissection on that comment.
Oh yeah, we're gonna drop that spoiler warning, and we're gonna get into the rest of this movie. Here we go.
Spoiler warning.
All right, boys.
Bob, did you type up this plot synopsis?
Plop.
I didn't type one out, but I think I can blast through it in like 3 to 4 sentences. There's
Boy. Oh, wow.
yeah. Let me.
All it takes is Rob hating the movie for it to be a quick synopsis.
That's all it takes.
This is where some stupid bullshit happens, and then an asshole does a thing, and then it's over, and you wasted your life.
It's bullshit. Wow.
Damn.
No, basically,
I didn't realize this was a David Lynch film.
Oh, I'm starting to come around to Lynch. Anyway,
This. I just went quarter to midnight.
Quarter to midnight. This movie is basically about a family. They move out to like I don't know, this really nice piece of land, and they buy a house. It's a guest house is what they call it. And they're basically going to rent it out to people as sort of like a destination, like a vacation spot. And it's very removed from any sort of like town or city. So they buy this spot up, and they're not getting a whole lot of traffic, primarily because there's no main road leading there. Like that's how far off the beaten path this place is. However, there are plans to build a road in the near future. So over the course of the movie, they eventually get a handful of guests, and while the guests are there, they just die, and the family is afraid that if word gets out that their first guests have died, that nobody's going to want to go and stay there. And also they die in ways that make it look like they were murdered, in which that is not really the case, but it does look like that way. So they're trying to like cover up these people that have died and brush it under the rug, basically. Eventually, it turns out there is like actually a murderer that just appears towards the end of this movie who killed his wife. The police get involved. There's some sort of like volcanic induced landslide that then moves the vacation home spot to a more easily accessible location, which then lets the family get more traffic and their business is more successful. All the while, they're just like breaking into song throughout the course of this. And there's random claymated sequences. And it's
very random.
It's very very light and comedic and goofy. But that's generally what happens in this movie. Weird stuff.
Yeah, it's a hard one to sum up because while it does have some semblance of a story for a while, it kind of just things just sort of taper off towards the end. It's like into just I don't know, pure id. It doesn't really make any sort of cohesive sense by the end, and it doesn't barely make sense in the beginning. That opening sequence. It's all claymation, basically opening sequence of a little creature eating some girl's uvula after being found in her soup, and then a chain of animals eating that animal, and then a bird shits on the grandfather's head, and that's how the movie starts. And that has zero. As far as I can tell, there's not even a metaphorical correlation to what's going on.
It has nothing to do with the movie. And when the movie opens and it's this bizarre claymated shit, I was way into it because I had no idea what was going to happen after that. But then it's just like pretty normal. Like, you know, there's a couple deaths that are weird, but that's like the craziest thing that happens.
Yeah, well, I mean, it gets. I think I would argue that it gets crazy again, but it takes a while to like they do spend a little time establishing stakes and characters and things.
Yeah.
But yeah, that opening sequence just doesn't factor in at all, and it's really, really weird choice to have it in there at all.
Yeah, and it doesn't. It's weird because the claymation, it really doesn't pop up that much, actually. I remember it heavily in the end and then in the beginning, but there's like throughout just the regular movie, there's not a whole lot of it. So it doesn't really set the tone very well for what you're about to see.
There's three major sequences, I think. And
I'm
the first one is the
one
biggest
in my brain.
There's one that's like pretty slight, I feel
the
like.
grandfather fighting that.
That's right. Yeah. Okay.
That
even that's toward the back half.
Yeah, that's in the bottom third, I think, or the last third of the movie. But what's interesting about those shots is like, my suspicion is those are all heavily action-oriented shots. So my thought is that this was a cost-saving measure combined with a stylistic decision that is really bizarre, but is just sort of taken as canon. Like bizarre, unreal things, cartoonish things happen, obviously, when they're animated in this way. But then, like, with the exception of that first sequence, which doesn't make any fucking sense, but we're just sort of expected to be like, okay, so that happened, and now we're going back to footage of actual people playing these characters, and they're going to pretend like that all just happened exactly as depicted in clay. It's a really interesting choice, but I think budgetary concerns are probably a lot of the reason for that.
Probably.
Which is weird because whenever I see claymation, I always just think, man, this looks like a huge pain in the ass and a huge time dumpster, essentially. Like you gotta spend so much time moving that shit around. Like, oh my God.
It's incredibly difficult to do stop motion well with, and this isn't, I would argue that this is definitely not done. This is not Tim Burton level. This is not like Kubo and the Three Strings or whatever that movie is. This is, this is admirable, I would say, like from a stop motion animation perspective, but it's not like, this is not world class. And that's the thing. It's like nothing in this movie is like world class. Even like you get a lot of songs, a lot of dancing, a lot of things like that. And there's always like some weird, like it's always a little stilted or somebody's a little off on their moves or somebody's voice is cracking or something. And I kind of love the decision to just let it be very warty, very, very like full of issues that would normally not fly with a movie that's less silly than this.
Yeah, the estimated budget for this was $1.5 million, which is pretty damn low, man.
Pretty low, yeah.
Yeah, wow, that is super low.
I mean, most of the movie takes place in a handful of locations and then claymation world. So, and it's mostly forests and things in outlying areas. So.
Yeah, the claymated stuff doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And actually, like most of what happens in those sequences could just be like removed entirely or rewritten to make sense, in which they don't really make sense as they are. But those are actually some of the more interesting sequences for me.
I like them,
to be honest. Yeah, I do too. It's just
I get,
weird,
I get.
I think it's like this is.
They I don't think they add to the story, which is the problem. It's like I get that they change the style and they serve as like, oh, we couldn't do this with our budget, but as far as it's like, then that scene didn't need to exist because it doesn't make a lick of sense.
I don't think I kept thinking about Monty Python this whole movie because like that sort of thing is very much in the Monty Python realm. Think about Holy Grail where they cut to animation all the time, like at least a couple of times. And it's just taken as like, it's a silly interlude, but then things happen within the interlude that factor into what's semblance of a story. But the thing is, like, the story doesn't really matter because it's such a silly thing that's meant to be, like, I think, enjoyed for the moment, whatever the moment is. So I kind of see this movie as in that realm of like, it's like Monty Python Sound of Music with a little gore.
It's weird covering a movie like this too, because this is where you start to talk about like different like genres. And like, while I've seen like a handful of Japanese horror films, but just like, I guess, foreign horror films in general, I feel like it's harder to understand comedy from a foreign standpoint because so much of comedy has to do with timing. It has to do so much with like cultural like relevance,
it's like a lived experience.
Yeah.
Shared
and so when you're like reading these, probably like not, totally on like subtitles, even about the words, because even just thinking about like English comedy, like wordplay, like, and I think they even do this at one point because you can kind of get like the subtext of it. I think when they're talking about like the dog or something, like when he's eating the noodles, but like you still don't understand, and so it's not funny the way it would be to somebody who speaks Japanese, who understands the wordplay that is happening. And that's why I think it's harder to just enjoy comedy from a foreign standpoint. Like you're only going to get so much. It's like looking at something through like a filmed glass, it's like, yeah, you can kind of like see the shapes and get the general idea of the scene that's happening, but like you can't see the full picture. And in comedy, that's a big deal. And I feel like just so much is just can't be translated like in this realm, in this genre. So I feel like I was affected a lot by that. I was aware. I was like, I don't really know like what's supposed to be funny about this. That's
the thing is like, it matters. It hinges so much on your day-to-day. Like this is a lot of like slice of life comedy, snaggled tooth in with amongst some really bizarre, absurdist comedy, I think. Or at least it seems that way to me. And the thing is, we don't know what day-to-day life is like in Japan necessarily. It has 3 dudes not living there. It's kind of tough to say what cultural touchstones are being played with, or like you say, like wordplay. We just can't know wordplay. Like we just can't. So it's, they can try to translate that, but I mean, just words, different words mean different things there. Even if you translate them, it doesn't fall track. We know this because Google fucking, Translate exists, and it does not work as well as you would hope.
I mean, even if you think about like British comedies, like sometimes watching those like British like dry comedies, you're like, holy shit, this is just way different than what we generally find funny. And now like we can still understand it if we like get the context and stuff. But in comedy, like and see, we're assuming some things that I've realized, even just like through living in Korea with things just like a music or just other things where like you don't even know, like we're working under the rules of what comedy is in English. So like we're like, oh, timing and these things, like there might be things that exist in the Japanese language and culture surrounding comedy that we don't even like know.
That's
so
true.
For like instance, like in music, in English music, rhyme is very essential to an English song. Like that's how our language is structured. That does almost not exist in the Korean language because so many sentences and words end the same way. You end with the verb, and so it ends the same way based on like what tense it's in. And so the idea of ending a line and a rhyme in like a Korean song doesn't exist because that's not how their language is structured. So like there might be like elements of Japanese like comedy that just we have no way of like even knowing that that's what's happening
without speaking the language and being immersed in it. Yeah, you're right. And then I'm sure this movie, like most any comedy that you have to translate, that heavily for yourself, or has to be like, transposed into an English situation for us, it's going to suffer from that to some degree. And I think this movie probably does suffer from that. But that said, I would say that a lot of this comedy landed for me. I laughed a lot during this movie. Yeah.
There's a lot of physical comedy that you
It's a lot of, Sorry, go ahead.
There's to speak a little bit about like the horror beats in this. It like the first like real like gag that made me laugh out loud was the first guest that comes to stay with him, and he ends up killing himself. He stabs himself in the neck with like their the key that they give him to get into his room has like this huge keychain on it, and he like files it down and kills himself with it. And they find him
with a knife.
Yeah, with a knife. And
that made me laugh so hard.
They find him in the room, and they like as they walk into the room, like the whole like cinematography changes, the lighting changes, the mood changes, and everything gets
turns into a Fincher movie for like 5 minutes for like a minute, and that's it.
They flip on the melodrama hardcore, and it's really funny to watch them react to this dude because it's just in a totally unnatural way, and like stuff like that lands, that translates.
Dude, you can't tell me it wasn't funny when like they see the thing and it's sticking out of the guy's neck. He committed suicide by carving with a knife down this thing into a spike and then jutting it into his neck, and he's lying there in the ground, and they pop in with a Charlie's Angels type pose and start singing about how they found this guy dead, and oh no. And you can't tell me it's not funny though that one of them pulls it out of his neck and it's like, oh my God. And the other one's like, no. And then grabs it and puts it back
in. Yeah, that's true.
That shit was really funny.
Yeah. There's a handful. You get the visual gags. They do land.
Yeah. Yeah. Like even, I guess all the guests have. No, I don't know. So the second guest definitely does have a hard, like visual gag where it's like this big, like sumo wrestler and this tiny, like who looks like, maybe now this was weird because she looks super young, like to me.
Well, they even say like, "Oh, nobody will find us here." I think maybe that's the case.
Shit. I didn't even.
Yeah, so it was really weird. Yeah. But she gets crushed by him because she's so tiny. He's so big. He has like a heart attack or something.
Yeah.
But now the group that shows up, now that actually I guess a group of normal like folks show up,
normals,
but then a group of like poor, like this poor family shows up, and most of the time I feel like even though there was physical comedy involved, I was also just very confused and trying to find my footing as far as the situation and the plot and the story, that even though there was some physical comedy, or I got the comedy that was happening, it didn't necessarily land because my brain was like racing, trying to figure out like what the fuck was happening. So like with that poor family, they don't actually die. No. And I'm thinking back now and I'm like, what was funny about it other than they thought that they were going to kill themselves? And maybe that's it. But at the time, I was just trying to make sense of it all. And I'm just like, now looking back, I'm like, maybe that was the gag. And now this is like days later where I'm like, damn, like it's talking about landing the joke or whatever. Well, I don't know.
They ask for a piece of like strong cord, which is a weird request. And they think they're going to use it to hang themselves, I guess, or kill themselves somehow with it. But they really just wanted to like tie the little boy's pants up because they can't afford a belt, I guess, for the kid, and his pants are too big. And this family kind of exists to just wander around the premises and see like our main characters doing really shady shit, like digging graves. Which is funny.
They're like, it's like in a comedy show where you have like, oh no, it's inspection day and there's just somebody around that they're trying to conceal things from. Yeah. And it just provides opportunity for them to be scrambling about digging a hole, and oh shit, you turn and the whole family's standing there like a portrait watching you. And what was so funny about that to me was that it culminated in, all these people, they stay the night or whatever, they think, oh no, they're going to kill themselves. Like we just had both of our last visitors just killed themselves. Maybe we're cursed, all this other stuff. So they're like unsure whether or not to even like let this family stay there, but they're so downtrodden. They're like out in the rain. It's a family of 4 with a kid who's sneezing. Like you can't say no to that. So they're backed into this situation despite being in a horrible situation themselves. That's, undiscovered, like, and they don't want discovered. And then this family turns out to be totally normal. The cord was for a belt loop, and they get caught digging a hole, and they're like, what's the hole for? And they're like, oh, it's for the trash. And then the people are like, okay, well, thanks, bye. And as they walk away, from the other side of the set, or from the other side of the forest, a guy is walking through and just falls into the hole and presumably dies in that moment. And they just kind of look over. I laughed so fucking hard about that.
Oh, so like, did that guy die? Because no, he didn't. To bury him. What?
They started to bury him, which was part of the funny to me. It's like, in your effort to save your next guest, you just killed a random passerby. But then he turned out to be the younger son, is the grandfather, and then the son or the uncle or whatever There's 4 generations here, which is kind of hard to track, but at least at first. Anyway, but they see the grandfather starts like shoveling dirt. And I was like, he's breathing. What are you doing? And they pull him in, and that guy turns out to be the escaped killer or whatever that leads the police to them.
All right.
Yeah. Can we talk about Richard a little bit here?
Yes, we can. Let's talk about Richard.
And I want to talk about Richard and another problem that I had with this movie, because I felt like I started to notice it around Richard, but then it continued on throughout the rest of the movie. And that the sound, okay, so this is a musical, but there is a ton of shrill sound in this movie. Like just like nails on a chalkboard, grating, shrill sounds that just was so unpleasurable for me. Like,
I guess I didn't pick up on that.
Rough. So it mostly comes like this chick. So there's like the second generation, I guess the third. There's the daughter of the father who bought the motel or whatever, but she has a daughter herself. So she's like I don't know, middle age.
I'm going to say she's the daughter, and then the granddaughter is like the little girl, the 5-year-old.
Yeah, she's like the third generation in here. And then her daughter will be the 4th generation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the girl, like in her late 20s, early 30s or something, she falls in love with this, like, she's easy to fall in love. She falls in love with this weird looking guy who's dressed up in like a sailor suit. But then once she does, she just like screeches his name out constantly. Like when she's talking to him on the phone, when she's like calling out to him, it's like grating. It's so brutal. Oh my God.
Yeah. So he's like
Sorry, go ahead.
He's a Navy man.
No, he's not.
Well, he claims to be. And before we are told that, he isn't, like, he's got really, really long, scraggly hair.
Yeah.
And I was
like,
a
soul patch.
Yeah. I was like, you can't have that in the Navy.
He's like, I am in the U.S. Navy. Yeah. And I was like, no, you're not.
I don't think so.
And then he's like, but actually, to be more accurate, I'm with the British Royal Navy. He's like, well, you can't be both, bitch. So
what?
And his name is Richard. He's like American.
Yeah. I like, so immediately, at least for us, maybe it's partially because we could like spot the uniform and spot the, like the haircut and all that stuff. I don't know how culturally relevant those things are there, but at least so immediately, like, something's up, or at least I did. I assume you guys would as well pick up on that. Yeah. But that scene of them meeting, where she sees him kind of on this terrace, and they look over, and he throws a paper plane at her, and it says "I love you," and it launches into the funniest fucking dance number of the whole thing, where he is flying around doing like Superman poses on a lift. What do you call those things? On ropes, basically. And he's doing that, and then at some point he like gets kabonged on the head or something, and he just is flying around, like hitting all the cues, but totally passed out. And I was losing my fucking mind laughing about that.
Dude.
That shit cracked me up.
You enjoyed this movie way more than I did.
Well, I mean, here's the thing, is like this movie, to the extent that it's a musical, like I've found out recently, I've been discovering that I'm a little bit of a musical guy. I didn't know that.
Whoa.
Like that's not something I ever like really knew about myself, but every time I watch a musical, for the most part, at least the ones that appeal to me, I usually have a pretty fucking good time. And it hinges a lot on how good the music is. Mm-hmm. But, and to that effect, this movie, I mean, might not hit all my buttons for that reason, but like the dance numbers and all, like the heightened reality that's going on, that just sort of infiltrates an otherwise normal movie. I like that kind of shit when it's done for laughs and done sort of self-awarely. And this movie definitely and knowingly cribs off of Sound of Music. I mean, even the whole character of Richard is exactly the I don't remember the characters' names in that movie, but the Elsa or whatever, the 16-year-old girl's like, I'm 16 going on 17, that whole song. She's singing that to a Nazi youth fucking person who turns out to be a dirtbag but then also he saves their lives or whatever. But like, there's a lot like of influence from that movie, and this, even the look of it, like this is in the foot of Mount Fuji, but you couldn't tell me that it doesn't look like the Alps. Like it looks like fucking Sound of Music. I don't know.
I've never seen Sound of Music, so it's hard to say.
I mean, I've only seen it like once, but like just from the cover, if you look at the fucking, all right, Physical Media Boy, if you got the fucking album or the The cover, it looks like this fucking movie. Like even the cover of both movies.
I'm just saying I've never actually seen the movie. I've seen the cover of the movie.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on with Richard that I definitely want to talk about. There's one scene where we see him, like, he calls up his woman and he's like faking sound effects like he's in the middle of a battle.
I'm in Iraq.
Yeah, just
Of Iraq.
ridiculous shit. And he's just like sitting in his living room, chilling or whatever. And he does eventually like come to their guest house to stay. And he gets there to visit, and he's like, macking on his girl hard. And she's eating it up, and then there's this like random scene that I don't fully understand, where he like goes to his like room and he's like grabbing his ass, like he's about to shit his pants or something.
See, this is another thing that didn't make a lick of sense. On his way there, because he's just a vagrant, he's an imposter.
He like hoofs it there or something.
He stops by the river to drink it, and when he drinks it, surrounding the entire river are a bunch of dead bodies of animals. So there's like a dead deer where it's skeleton showing. There's like a dead, like everything around where he's drinking this water. So then, he goes into a scene where he's like grabbing his stomach, grabbing his ass, like, oh, he's actually like going to shit himself. I don't think he actually does, though. And then it doesn't amount to anything.
Yeah. That is true. And I'll sit with you on that, because it's like there's a lot of like weird threads that they set up that you kind of think are going somewhere. Like I thought that was going to lead to another dead guest. This is which would like track with what's going on with the rest of the movie. Patterns anyway. But and
he's wearing all white, so shitting himself would have been hilarious,
dude.
Like, that would have been easy.
All it ends up with him doing is falling off the bed and finding the wallet. So you can say it progresses the story, but it's not like it didn't have to go that way. It was just a really weird choice, and it doesn't pay off the idea of those dead animals. So there's a lot of like unused payoff. Not like it doesn't end with that opening sequence. Like there's a lot that's just kind of like put into place that are just, if you're in a bowling alley, they're like 3 lanes down by the end of the movie. It does not count.
My favorite scene regarding Richard, and probably in this whole movie actually, is he's talking to his lady, and he finally comes out with that Queen Elizabeth is his aunt.
Yeah.
And
I really hate the paparazzi.
I did like that. That was pretty funny.
He alludes to like how close he was with like Princess Diana, and like if only he had been there, maybe he could have done something. And like, dude, it's just so fucking wild. And then he asks for some airfare so that he can go back home and then get a bunch of money from the royal family, and then come back and they can live happily ever after.
He's a grifter. And he's seen on that wanted poster too, so we know he's not just a vagrant. He's also a criminal in some way. Yeah. I assumed a con man because he's just telling this woman everything she wants to hear. So,
Aunt Queen Elizabeth,
like, Aunt Queenie,
that's wild,
dude. Yeah, that's like the lies he spins are hilarious, and it's like the whole way down.
Also, because he's just like straight Japanese.
Yeah, he's like, my dad was Japanese. Like, your name's
white.
Richard. Richard, is it?
Is it?
I don't know.
Is it?
There's a lot of like weird scenes in this. Like that's this thing is like even within the confines of a musical, even within the confines of like a slapstick comedy, absurdist comedy, there's a lot of things that don't make any sense to have in the movie at all. Like, so there's things like having the police officer show up. The only thing, like the first time the police officer shows up, it's just to have them sign something, which they don't even tell us what it is, I don't think. And then to show that guy's on a wanted poster. Well, we didn't need that. Obviously, it was just like this. I don't know if it was supposed to be, maybe it's supposed to land as funnier than it was, that these people are poorly concealing this thing that's going on around their house. But that particular joke didn't land for me as well. So yeah, like it's hard to like, I like this movie. I'm going to just level with you guys. I like this movie, but it's hard for me to argue why. Like it's hard for me to argue to extend that to other people. It might just be my proclivity to like weird, really weird choice. It's just a lot of big swings, and I'm kind of partial to that. So, and that plus the musical aspect, which, like I said, the music in this is not as good as it could be, I would say, or at least it's not. It doesn't leave me humming it afterwards the way that the best musicals do. But it's serviceable enough because it's cribbing off of like Roger and Hammerstein and like doing like these big sweeping vista sounds and all these things. And then they did the fucking karaoke thing that, oh man, I laughed so hard.
Damn, dude.
I really liked it.
I don't think I laughed at all.
I chuckled, like I didn't belly laugh.
Yeah, maybe
a
chuckle, or like thinking back, I might have like a smirk on my face about some of the visual gags. But I never laugh. I
laughed so hard because the whole movie I was sitting there thinking like, this is kind of like they're going for. There's a few scenes where I was like, it's like they're, especially the musicals, they're going for this like karaoke video sort of aesthetic, but then it just becomes one straight up, and they tell the audience to sing along. I don't know, man. That's the Monty Python humor that I like. Like that's just like absurdist comedy. Period. Like that's international to me. It worked.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like if you just kind of approach this movie, like thinking, the problem is thinking that it's horror. I think like at least that's a problem that you could have with this movie. If you're coming in expecting Miike's like Ichi the Killer, you're not getting that. You're not getting anything close to that, really. Yeah. So I mean, for me, it just makes a lot of like it hits a lot of pleasure buttons with the musical and the comedy aspect, and otherwise it's not a great story. It's not a greatly filmed movie. And it's not like it takes a lot of really like divergent stylistic approaches based on the situation, or sometimes based on fucking nothing. It's just, I don't know. It's entertaining all the way through to me.
Yeah.
Almost all the way through.
There is one really emotional scene towards the end that lands, like where the actors really fucking pulled me in.
It was pretty good.
They stopped acting like CW actors and started acting like just actors.
The father, his wife gets sort of held at knife point by the killer that emerges, and he full on begs this killer to like let his wife go, and it is like heartbreaking. And he does let her go, and they finally, I think they end up killing the killer. I actually don't.
Except he doesn't hold up his end of the bargain.
He
goes. No, he does. He tries to. Because he goes. The bargain is that he's trading his wife for himself. This guy goes after the dad at that point.
Oh, but the son. That's
the son intervenes. That's right. Yeah,
and he only gets also and he's fine.
Yeah, which is like that's extremely silly humor, but it worked because of how heavy that scene just beforehand was, and how like they was like he was saying goodbye to his whole family or whatever. I don't know, man. It worked for me. It's not all of it is bust a gut laughing, but there were a few scenes that did that, and then a few scenes that I'm just like, they're amusing. If not, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's like Monty Python. Not every bit in Monty Python's Holy Grail is one that people quote. And certainly not. And like there are things in that movie that I'm just like, okay, yeah, speed along so we can get to the next part. But like this movie's no different. I just think that like with big comedies like this, it's hit or miss. Yeah. Big absurdist comedies.
Oh, go ahead.
I'll say that the last claymation scene where it sort of like solves the family's problems, and like they save the dog, and then the whole guest house is transported by this landslide, and like nobody is hurt at all in the process of this. It's just like such a strange way to end this movie to me. Yeah. It's just bizarre.
It is, because it has nothing to do with the deaths. Those corpses, after their little dance number, which was awesome. After they go away, they are never seen again. It's just like, I don't know.
Problem solved?
I don't know what this... Yeah. The thing is, I start asking myself, okay, what is this movie trying to communicate? And that's the problem, is like,
nothing.
It's not. Yeah. It's not trying to communicate a thing, except look at these insane things that are happening on screen. And on that level, I do enjoy it.
Yeah.
See, I don't think it's like that. I think that's part of the problem too, is actually, I mean, it is communicating something because it's about this family. And that's where the focus lies. The family is there. It's almost like the host. I kind of think about this like the host, where they're all just like this family of misfits. They all have like fucked up in their life, but they're all in it together. So like, the son was.
It has a core.
The daughter was divorced and falls in love easily. The dad invests in this bum ass like house or whatever, and so but. I think the problem for me is despite that, I can never find footing. So another thing like that is brought up, the movie, after we get this random intro of like the claymation and everything, where you think like, oh, maybe that's going to be a tone or something that's consistent through the movie, that's not. Then the little girl starts to narrate the movie as if she's an adult. So then you're like, okay, I'm going to follow this like little girl around. Then you like never see that little girl ever again. And it's like,
just at the end,
really difficult to find any kind of footing in this movie. Those are like choices that I think were just kind of poor, I guess, because they don't, to me, when I think about it, they don't serve anything. So in the same way of like Richard drinking the water where there's dead animals, or like the girl narrating at the beginning, or like this monster flying out of soup, like I can't give you an answer of like, what does that serve?
See, and but that's the thing, is like, it doesn't need to, because like I'm sorry to keep bringing up the Monty Python thing, but it's so true. Like the Knights Who Say Knee, what the fuck does that add to anything besides a few moments of something to giggle at? Like but the little girl like narrating a movie isn't funny though. I guess that's the point, is like what is that serving? It's keeping you off kilter. I to me, it's like whether or not it's like all those instances you mentioned are successful or add anything to me. I think that some of them do. I think that some of them, I don't know. I think some of them do, because they're keeping you on your toes with this shit. Like this movie doesn't let you fall into a level of complacency, even as it does these like sweeping dumb love songs or whatever. It just kind of keeps you like guessing what the fuck could possibly happen next. And to that end, I think it's kind of cool.
There is this one sort of like missed opportunity, I guess. So there's like one of the characters, he's like the teenage son. I kind of thought he was going to be sort of like the emotional pull throughout this movie at one point, because as the guests start dying, they think the son maybe actually killed them, because I guess he has some sort of sordid past. And that's another reason they're afraid to get the cops involved, just because they don't want their son to then be a suspect and maybe go to jail. But we never really have any of that happen. Nothing comes from that. Like we don't really learn much about the son's past, or like why he would be a suspect for these murders. And like there's really just like no development at all comes from
I don't know.
that.
I think the only culmination, I think you could argue, even though I would say that you're right to largely, you're correct, that it's not really culminating in much, but I would argue that there is some culmination in the scene where we think that he's dying. And he's like, I'm sorry, I was a bad son. And like, it's making amends with your family after being a begrudging member of it for the majority of the movie.
Yeah.
So,
but
then they play it for a gag.
Yeah. But I kind of agree with Rob, as to where I feel like that could have been played up, even because I never actually suspected the son. As the viewer, we're kind of seeing him behind the scenes where the family doesn't get to see him. So like even though they suspect him, like we kind of know he's innocent. So even though like he sacrifices himself for his dad, and you see like they've been suspecting him, I feel like it would have been more powerful if they even pulled back more and was like, if we were in on it, like, is he a bad guy?
Yeah.
You know?
Like if they brought that up as a mystery, a legit mystery, instead of just, I get that.
Yeah, there's just no real stakes in this movie, which makes it hard to get into. You can't hit yourself to anybody, because they're all just kind of floating around loosey goosey, and it just doesn't.
I don't know. I think
land.
it's absurdism. So like the stakes kind of don't really matter. They have to be bare minimum stakes, and in this case, it's like Justin said, the stakes are a family trying to make it in a harsh situation where they're all misfits in one way or another, and binding themselves together gets them through. That's the only skeletal structure of this. And sometimes when you get to absurdism, that's just the way to go. Like think about David Lynch. Think about any Monty Python, really. Like just tenuous skeletal, tiny little structures that they just throw a bunch of weird shit on top of. I don't know.
And maybe if we were fluent in Japanese, more of that would land,
that's probably true. And that's another thing, is like, when you were saying that, Justin, about the son and his criminal past or whatever, like a criminal past might have more weight to it there, or might have, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't really know.
Yeah, what do you go to jail for? And
right.
like, yeah.
And what do people think of you if you've been to jail? What if, you know, I don't know what that looks like there. So to that extent, maybe it's more implied culturally that in a way that we can't read. I don't know. Yeah. I can't speak to that. Really.
There is a decent, like, you know, zombie musical number towards the end.
Dude,
you got that at least.
Here's a big complaint. I do have this, not a big complaint, but this is probably one of the bigger things is like, I would cut a couple of these songs. This movie does not need to be 2 hours. It doesn't.
Yeah, that was another thing that I had a hard time with too, is like, it was hard to keep me engaged, and it's almost 2 hours long, and it was pain. There's
a reason Dumb and Dumber isn't that long. Yeah. There's a reason, you know, like for something this silly and absurd, it's tough to keep my attention anyway for this long. And I was actually pretty surprised that I got through in one sitting.
Yeah. So, Japan and Korea, man, Asians need to trim down their movies.
You know, that might be a cultural thing too, though, because
it could be
like, maybe we're the Dumb and Dumbers of the world. I mean,
maybe our attention span is too short, but that shit is too long to me.
Yeah, I agree. And like the experience wise, it makes it tough for a movie this silly to last that long.
On one hand, I think I've said this before. On one hand, I respect it that the director's like, you know what, this is my story and I'm going to tell it. And you know, I have no regard for your fucking life. This is my story. But you know, at the same time, fuck, dude, let's move it along.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, apparently we're talking about our experience with his art. We're not talking about
it's movie. It's true.
So it's not even the director's story. It's not like he came up with this shit. This is based on a Korean movie called The Quiet Family. So
do you know to what extent? Like, I don't know anything. Do you know anything?
The only difference I know is The Quiet Family is not a musical. It says.
Is it a silly movie? Like, is it?
I don't know. It's from 1998.
I wonder if it's like a parody or something.
3 years later, so not even that far removed. So it's not like a 10.
So it makes me wonder if it's like the epic movie of fucking Japan, you know, or not another teen movie for Japan, where it takes elements from popular culture of their culture and
I'm looking it up,
satirize them in some way. They certainly are taking things from Western culture too, because there's no way they didn't intend to have. It says
it's a South Korean black comedy horror film, so it says it's like comedy.
I mean, it's meant to be comedy. I know that.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, but like if this one's comedy too, like I doubt that they're parried. Like,
the other one is.
The Quiet Family.
Korean one is okay.
The Korean one, yeah.
So yeah, I don't know, but like that said, like black comedy can mean a lot of things. So because
it think says about the story centers on a family who owns a hunting lodge in a remote area whose customers always happen to end up dying. So so it's
pretty similar. Yeah. So I don't know. I wonder what that movie's like. I gotta think that it's maybe a little toned down, but I don't know. Maybe it's even bigger than this. Maybe
it's probably much, much better.
Maybe.
Why don't you test that theory, Juice? I'd be curious to hear your findings.
Also to your point too, just to be fair, I am not a musical guy. I struggle even with the best of them. So having a musical that's just infused with shrill sounds throughout and songs that aren't particularly catchy and are overly goofy and people who can't actually sing is just even more painful for me. So it's like, God damn, like
can't wait to talk about Rocky Horror Picture later.
Dude, yeah, I would love to. Actually,
I love some of those songs. Yeah,
that would be great.
Well, I mean, shrill. I mean, Jesus Christ! If you want shrill, that's the movie.
Wow. Well, even not just even in the singing, but like at one point, the poor family comes in and the little girl is just playing the flute or the recorder terribly. She just plays it terribly, and it's like, I get like it's kind of funny to get like where they are, but it was so grating on me that I just couldn't wait for it to stop.
See, I didn't have that experience. Like the shrill, whenever the shrill like sounds come on, it's usually in like service to character or something to me. Like I like a girl screaming the name of the person she's in love with because she's hopelessly and stupidly in love with this insane looking maniac.
Yeah.
I don't know. That stuff doesn't bother me. And it didn't even register to me, to be perfectly honest.
All right. Plane.
I think
Plane then, boys.
Yeah. I think we worked through it. Let's rate this thing out of 5. Juice, why don't you kick us off? How you feel about the happiness of the Katakuris?
This is not my flavor. I'm not into it. Also, another thing, I'm not super into just really goofy slapstick horror. Like I'm comedy. I'm sorry. I can be in certain instances, but I don't just crave it or fall into it or find it like overly charming like a lot of people do. It's so most of the foundation that this movie is built on is just straight out the gate is not really my bag, baby. It's just not what
Interesting choice to quote Austin Powers while talking about not liking slapstick.
I'm not into super goofy things. I'm not into musicals. This movie even is like dated. So even as from a foreign film aspect, I think I struggle with just like the date on this. It's from 2001. It looks much. Man,
you weren't even born yet, were you?
Just barely. It's a young buck back then. And let's see, the film, it's like really the colors are just kind of like real washed out. It looks older than it is to me, I thought. There were like the one thing I will praise it on is getting your comedy across like cultures and languages and everything like that. There were some very funny physical comedy moments that I enjoyed and that helped me kind of get through this in general. But overall, I didn't like the general loose plot, things that didn't make sense, the shrill noises, the bad songs, the claymation, I didn't really like the claymation. It didn't particularly look good. It looks low budget. And I'm going to give this a one star, solid 1 star.
1 from the old Juice.
You can put that in ink, Bob. That's not going to change.
Put it in ink.
I always do, baby.
Maybe I'm stupid.
Nope, that is not correct this time.
Oh, correct yourself.
I largely echo you there, Juice. This movie was difficult to get through. It felt way too long and meandering. And like your focal point of the movie kept changing, which is fine as long as it makes some sort of sense, and it didn't really seem to. Things just sort of happen randomly, and there are a few chuckles along the way. There are a few songs along the way. None of the songs really grabbed my attention. I don't know. It's just nothing really ever pulled me in throughout watching this movie, and it's pushing 2 hours, and you're just trying to hold on. It's not really my thing. I'm going to give it a 1 star as well.
Wow.
All right, Randy, you got to defend
Alone in my principles.
Yeah.
Here we go. So yeah, I enjoyed myself with this movie. This movie has a lot of faults for sure. If you're going to put it up against, pretty most movies that we review, it's certainly not going to rank on a horror scale, but it's going to still not rank even on like a straightforward quality scale, because it's doing things that are completely ill-advised in almost every other movie in a lot of ways, but because it's approaching it from an absurdist point of view, I think it works. And the information that I have about, or the information that I've discerned about what this movie is going for, that being like kind of being Sound of Music inspired, being certainly musically Sound of Music inspired, and visually, and then also like the comparisons to other slapsticks, like those things work for me. I love Monty Python shit. I love like really stupid humor sometimes, like not all the time. And this movie is certainly too much of it, I would say, because of the length of it. And a lot of the jokes landed for me. A lot of the jokes that I wouldn't have expected to land for me landed for me because it was international enough for me to discern what was happening. I understood enough of the plot to understand those jokes, and that's really all you need. That's what it is. It's like, think about so many other like Monty Python type things, or even SNL movies, where it's just like one bit after the other using the same characters. It's just that. And it's totally like, I couldn't force this on anybody. If you don't like that sort of thing, or if you don't like musicals, if you hate musicals, then you're probably not going to like this. Like, this is just not for you. But for me, I'm not like crazy, like 100% in on either of those things, but it amalgamated nicely for me. Like I said, the biggest drawbacks for me were the length. Some of the jokes didn't quite land. Some of the setups they had didn't pay off, which is crazy for how long it is. Even story-wise, I kind of wish it was a little more cohesive story-wise, because they're like right on that edge where you're not sure how intentionally disparate these parts are sometimes, because sometimes it seems like it's going for a straightforward narrative and sometimes it doesn't. So it's just it keeps you on your toes in that way. And in that, I like it for keeping you on your toes, but narratively it's not as satisfying because you kind of want to have just a little bit more to cling to. I think Justin would have appreciated that by the sound of it. But for me, it was really about like beat for beat, joke for joke. It's a joke delivery system, and it uses certain inspirations that I find interesting and found to be like really bizarre and strange and interesting. So for me, I think I'm going to put it at a 3. Not a world-class movie. It ain't The Witch. It ain't Jaws. It ain't even Monty Python, but I would say that it hits enough pleasure points for me to get a 3.
All right.
I would say the music.
I am glad you enjoyed it, though. I am.
Yeah, I mean, I think is like people do enjoy this movie, and it just kind of takes, like I said at the beginning, it takes a very specific list of interests, I think, to really have this movie be like your movie. And I don't think it's not a movie that I'm gonna like go out of my way to see a bunch of times necessarily, but I'm gonna remember it for a long time, and I'm gonna talk about how I like it at parties or whatever, because it's a movie that's like just speaks to me on some level. It's DIY in all the right places. That's like the stop motion is like very DIY feeling. It's not professional feeling, not hyper professional feeling anyway. And it feels like an 80s MTV thing. It feels outdated in all the ways that having a low budget would make you feel outdated. Like Troma does the same shit, and like people like it for that. I like this movie for those things. I think it adds to it. And I think for whatever decisions they make that draw away from my enjoyment of this movie, it mostly centers around having too much in the bag, too much time, too many different like branching paths of story, things like that. So 3.
All right.
3 from Randy. That's going to put our aggregate at a 1.7. Let's jump over into our Rotten Tomatoes segment and see what the critics and users think about this movie.
Certified fresh to death.
All right, y'all. Let's talk about Rotten Tomatoes. We here at the Straight Chilling Podcast, every episode just about, give each other the chance to guess between 0 and 100% what the critics' aggregate and the users' aggregate are for the movie in question, this being Happiness of the Katakuris. So let's start with the critics' score, and we're going to give it to Juice to start. Juice, what do you think the critics gave this movie? There are 30, count them, 30 reviews counted.
This is really tough because I really don't know where to go. I really have no idea.
It's going to be a polarizing movie.
Yeah, where to take this. So I'll just go with the old trusty 69 because
69 dudes.
Yes, give me 69 dudes, please.
69 dudes. All right, Bob, what are you thinking? Thinking from Bob.
I feel like I would be surprised if a lot of critics enjoyed this. I think. So
Well, la-dee-da.
I'm going to go sub 69 and I'll take a 60, please.
60. Ooh, kind of a tight race here, boys. But Juice is going to take it. The comedy number is closest to the 67% that we landed on. 67%.
Never fail.
Those
69 always comes through in the clutch.
I'll give you 67 dudes. I can't give you the other two. Sorry. That's up to you.
You gotta come up with them on your own, buddy.
You're going to have to drum up those extra two boys.
I'll get them.
Oh, boys, I'm gonna get you.
Wow.
All right, let's move over to the user score, the audience score. There is 8,536 audience reviews for this. I'll start with Bob this time. What are you feeling from the audience on this?
8,000.
I'm gonna go just with a 50%, right down the middle, please.
All right, 50. Juice, what are you thinking?
Shit. 60.
60. All right. Well, I think Juice is going to take this one again. Yep.
Damn.
Juice is going to take this one, but he's not close. So he's actually 22 off. It's 82% positive on this film.
Still.
That is
Sweeping the
way
board.
too
I mean,
high.
hey,
that is super
a W is
high.
a
That is-
W no matter how you get it.
Wow.
Yeah, I am pretty shocked by that. Wow.
Wow.
I feel like if you know about this movie, there's a chance you run in the circles that like this movie.
Man.
It's a pretty good chance. I think it's got its cult, but
What a
it doesn't
weird
have a lot
circle.
of surrounding its cult.
It's a weird circle.
Just what's going on over there?
It's
What
really
are you guys
just-
doing?
It's like an octagon, really. It's not even circular. That's how weird it is. Hey,
Yeah. So let's.
It's got so many angles, it's almost just a curve.
Yes, that's certainly a thing that a
Totally.
person just spoke.
totally.
Let's go ahead as we do and read one of the negative reviews because they're usually funnier, sometimes not. Don't hold me to that.
Holding you. I hope it better
all
be
right, here we
funny
go.
as shit.
There are so many moments in happiness of the Katakuris that beg us to walk out on the movie. It's hard to pick just one.
Damn.
That is actually pretty funny.
Oh man. Okay.
All right, give it to me, Randy.
I don't know. Some of these, some of them are just brutal, not so much funny. Yeah, this is actually that's kind of true. By the second hour, Miike's story fails to punctuate its powerful setup, and the work, much like the family itself, ends up a tangled mess. I think that's pretty fair. That seems pretty fair.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. So that's your Rotten Tomatoes segment. Congrats to Juice for sweeping it.
Damn it. Next week's my week.
Yep, you got it, Bob. You're
guess.
coming back strong.
You're gonna get those 69 dudes, Bob. I believe you.
Thanks,
Big
guys.
Dick Bob's coming back.
Thanks, guys. There's not really any trivia to speak of on this movie, so we're going to keep trucking right along, and we're going to go hunting for the Cooter of the Week.
Let's hop right in
All right.
there and hunt them, boys.
Tell me about this.
Time for Cooter of the Week. And what is Cooter? You know, it's that straight chillin' exclusive. So, Cooter is that character type that we are hunting. They have to hit 3 of these 5 points to be considered the Cooter. The 5 points are sexual deviancy, smug, oh my gosh, manipulation, overall looking attire, and overall patheticness. Boys, who we taking to Cooter court this week?
Richard!
my boy Dick. It's my boy Dick.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Richard. Okay.
I mean,
so-
I feel pretty strongly, Bob. You got it as well. You were on the cusp with that too.
Oh, yeah. I'm on the cusp, baby.
Ooh, right on the old
Ricard. We're booking him.
Dude.
All right. Manipulation.
So let's
Off the
manipulation.
charts. Off the
He's a
charts.
con
Alright.
man.
Yep.
Overall
so he
looking
is
attire?
not. So you're saying he's not part of the royal family? Is that what
I'm
you're
saying he's not part of the royal family as well as the U.S.
Oh, yeah.
Navy.
he is part of nothing. He belongs to no
I'm in
one.
the royal family and I'm in the U.S. Navy. Okay, man. Thanks for buying me this drink.
possibly
Go away.
doo-dooed his shorts.
Yeah, he was holding his asshole for a while.
His dress
We'll
whites.
give that to pathetic. We'll give that to pathetic.
They are now brown. They are dressed.
That's why you don't drink from a stream next to a corpse of a deer. I don't know,
Especially while you're wearing white shorts.
dude. Yeah, he's wearing white everything, and the fact that he shows up looking like he does with like the worst haircut in the world, by the way.
And then he cuts it. I like how he cut it. We didn't talk about that. That was a funny gag.
That was funny. Yeah, I don't know, man. He's obviously a manipulator. It's got I would argue smug arrogance, and just the level of arrogance you have to just send any woman, even as a con man, just a letter that says "I love you," and that's it.
That you've never
pretty
met
fucking
before.
arrogant. Yeah, that you just looked over at. Not even like, can I buy you a drink? It's just like, I love you. And it's also pretty hilarious. And this is a dream sequence, I think. I mean, who can tell? But during his little introductory dance number, where he, like I mentioned before, where he gets knocked out as he's flying in the pulley system. That's pretty pathetic. I'm going to add that to pathetic.
And he's just got to clench that butthole real tight.
So tight.
Pretty pathetic. And he gets like knocked the fuck out by an old grandpa man. I mean, come on, guys.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
He tries to steal an ashtray for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah.
You're a con man, dude. Bigger prey.
All right. So he is very pathetic. He is very manipulative. He is overall looking attire. We got to give him, especially after that haircut. Jesus
The hair.
Christ.
The outfit is a little much, but the hair with the outfit is like, he looks like a village person, like a village people person. He doesn't look like a real human being by any stretch.
Okay, so
and then
three.
Sexual deviance
smug arrogance
is the last.
Maybe sexual.
You could argue it. I
deviance.
think
The intention seems to be there, but we never actually see it play out.
I think the intention really is more about money for him.
I think it's about the money. Yeah, I was gonna say he never like gets creepy with it. He just like straight up asks for money and tries to steal stuff.
Yeah, I mean he's still playing. I still think it's pretty deviant to try and play with somebody's love like that. Somebody very obviously very manipulable. But
sexually, I don't think so though. He just everything else. The other four, I think he's gotten.
Yeah, other four are strong. All right,
it speaks more to deception. That's true.
Book him, boys.
He's in. Get in there, Richard. Get in there.
That's a strong ass Cooter, actually. Like,
I think so, dude.
That's a good one.
He's strong.
He's sharing a cell with Jeremiah right now.
Yeah, he might make it. He might make it on our Cooter calendar whenever that happens.
Ooh, dude. We need to stop promising that. Time's running low, and I don't have any.
He's going to be on the month of September for the 2025 Cooter calendar. You can keep your eyes.
2025.
2025. Mark your calendars. Oh wait.
Right. On our 10-year anniversary, you are that would be like 12.
It's going to be a party favor at my funeral.
What year
this calendar?
That would be 11 actually.
Yeah,
damn,
it's going to be a calendar. In 2025, we're releasing this 2021 calendar of Cooters.
It'll be great.
Remember back in 2021?
You remember when this could have been useful to you?
You remember that? So sorry. Sounds like we caught him. We caught the Cooter of the week. Let's go ahead and
I was going to say
anymore.
I don't think anybody else really.
Yeah.
Does anybody? I was trying to think of anybody else who qualifies, but
maybe that sumo wrestler with
maybe
that
the
super
sumo
young
wrestler.
chick.
Sexual deviance is
that
there.
shit was weird. She was supposed to look like 13, right?
I think so. At least I thought it was son and father and daughter.
Oh God!
But at first,
no, I mean
that was just from the look of them as they were we introduced them walking down the road. I thought they were father and daughter.
Yeah, that was weird.
Gotcha. I don't know. I don't know if we have.
You're really upset about that one.
It didn't register, and now it's fucking gross. I don't know. I don't like talking about it.
Do we need to book him, Bob? Would you feel better if we booked him?
I guess.
Well, he's a sexual deviant.
Yes.
And he's pathetic because he dies whilst having sex.
I don't know, man. That's kind of badass, though. In any other circumstance besides this, to die during sex from having the most awesome orgasm of your life, that's not so bad.
All that goes away because apparently she's underage.
No, I understand that. I agree with you. but also like just we can't blanket sweep the death during sex thing.
I mean, if it was like an orgy or something,
if you're like a 90-year-old dude and you die getting a blowjob, congrats. That's all I'm saying.
He's not 90.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he is. I'm just saying you can't say that about every situation like that.
I think in this situation, it's pathetic.
That's fair.
It's pretty.
I'm just trying to provide the sanctity of dying on during a blow.
He does die and also crush a woman, which is kind of pathetic.
Dude, her body being like completely depressed into that mattress. That's just like cartoon character funny. I'm sorry.
Funny.
It's not. It's really gross now. So
it is gross. You're not wrong.
Let's book him and move along, shall we?
All right, we'll book him.
Stop talking about it. All right.
Wow. Send your messages about this to at straight str8_chilling.
Send them to randyjalandi.gov. So yeah, it's time to get into the social hour. We're going to let our hair down and we're talking about what we've been watching this week.
Hey gang, what you been watching?
All right. Randy, what have you been watching?
Ooh, it's been a kind of a video game heavy week for me.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, finished up the story of LA Noire, which was quite good. I wound up liking it quite a bit.
Did you get better with the controls?
I got better, but it's really I don't think the controls got better. I just got better at adapting to their badness. is my read on that situation. I would say that the game has some like gameplay problems, but in terms of like story and some of the technology pushing stuff with the facial expressions and things like that, I thought I was pretty impressed. You know what I mean? I think this was an honest success in so many ways that I really want there to be a sequel, but apparently there's a whole bunch of drama surrounding the people that worked on it within or outside of Rockstar. Okay. So I don't know if it's going to come back or not. They really released. Well, who knows? I also have been continuing the Return of the Oberdin, which I mentioned in previous episodes, which is this bizarre in another investigation-based game where you're investigating the disappearance or the reappearance rather of a I don't know, it's like a cargo vessel or whatever that goes on an expedition, comes back, and you're the insurance adjuster trying to figure out what happened, and you're just investigating dead bodies. It flashes you back to the moment of death, and so you can investigate. It's really cool. It looks awesome. It just keeps getting more cool. I don't want to say anything that's going to spoil it because some of that shit, like some of the shit you like that comes out as the game goes on, was totally unexpected for me. There's some real horror elements going on in this thing. I'll just say that. Let's see. I got the Ring Fit Adventure for the Switch. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but it's literally an exercise game, which I normally wouldn't go for. But because there's no gym situation now, and because my ass is getting sedentary, even more so, Becky and I decided we wanted to do something and try something out, and the trailer looked out well enough. Well, we've had it for 2 days, and I've enjoyed it quite a bit. Basically, it's like a workout game that includes like an adventure mode where you're like using this, literally it's like a ring with 2 grips on either side, and you squeeze it and like and pull it and like put it in different positions and use it in different ways for different workouts. And you have to run in place. You have one of your Wiimotes or whatever, not whatever they're called, Joy-Cons strapped to your leg so it can tell when you're running and when you're like lifting your knees and all this stuff.
That's pretty cool.
And it like, yeah, so you're like running down paths, sort of like a temple run sort of looking thing for the most part. And then you also have like turn-based battles, like fucking role-playing game style. You get experience points, you unlock new shit, and there's a bunch of other modes as well. So far, it's gotten my ass pretty damn sweaty, and I haven't been sore for all day today based on 2 days of use. So I think it's a pretty good buy if you're looking for something like that. In the pandemic, I feel like there's probably quite a few people that need something. I think it's worth it. It was kind of expensive with the peripheral. It's more. It's like $80, I think it was. But there you go. Finish up the first half of season 2 for Pin 15. I found out that they had to split the season in half because of the pandemic, which is good because I was like, I really want more of that thing. It's so good. And this season is extra sad, but also still very funny and still very like rooted in nostalgia for the early 2000s teenage set. I recommend it. And then last but not least, last night got to go to a drive-in of Rocky Horror Picture Show, nice. Which is why I brought that up earlier. Yeah, you want shrill singing? That shit was shrill. I forget her name. It's either Magenta or the other one. But the girl that sings the solo in Time Warp, she is so fucking shrill. That's way worse than this girl in Katakuris. But it's a fun movie. It's never been my favorite, and it's particularly because I like the music, but the music does not stick with me at all. It doesn't have that catchability, except for Time Warp maybe, and maybe Sweet Transvestite is a little bit to that end. But for the most part, the movies slide back off my brain the minute they're done. So I don't know. I definitely see the appeal and I like it. I wouldn't take it away from anybody, but I don't think I'm on the level of loving it the way some people do. Even with my well-established love of Meatloaf's Bad Outta Hell couldn't save this movie for me. Not on the level it didn't elevate it for me.
Did somebody pick that movie? Is that why you said we're going to watch it soon? Or
no, I was talking about me talking about it because I was saving for this segment.
I see. Okay.
I don't want to say too much, but yeah, it's that question of like, a musical to me, if the music isn't good, then you've missed your slab at the bottom of your house. Like you don't have the support structure at that point. To me, if the good music comes first, well choreographed music, like harkening back to other things, all this shit, like a good medley or something, all those things I think are the first step to making a really good musical. And then the style is part of that. And you just build on top of that. But this movie, I think the style came before the music even, and like it just doesn't quite leave the impression on me that I was hoping for. None of the times I've watched it, but it has increased returns. Every time I watch it, I like it a little bit more.
I feel the same way. Every time I watch it, I like it a little more. It grows. It's not a shower; it's a grower.
That's gross.
What up, Tim Curry?
We also had because it's Rocky Horror. I didn't know if they could even do this at the drive-in, but they had people screaming jokes from across the lot, and then had the full cast in full get-up, and they were gender swapped and all sorts of things, and people bigger than I am, and I'm a big dude wearing a very scantily clad clothes, and I was proud of them. I was like, man, I do not have the guts to do that. So good for you guys. And they're acting out the whole fucking plot of this movie all the way through underneath the screen. It was really fun.
That's badass.
Yeah. It was great. They had people chasing each other around the fucking lot and just all kinds of shit.
Damn.
So that's
jelly.
it for me.
I'm jelly. Juice, what have you been watching?
Not a whole lot. I've started diving into the different Christmas specials that I like to watch. I've been watching, I watched some South Park
Halloween specials.
Yeah, sorry. I'm sorry.
All right.
Whoa, skipping a step there, buddy.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Halloween. I'm sorry. Halloween special. I don't know what's
Bon Me season, Juice. Come on.
Yeah. So yeah. Halloween special. So I watched some South Park ones. Actually, when I hadn't seen it was actually kind of sad. It was one of the newer South Park Halloween specials where there's the scooters in town and they're they just show up or whatever and they can ride the scooters. But you have to have a phone to download the app, and maybe it's just my age of 21 or whatever, but I'm starting to feel bad because Kenny didn't have a phone, and so he couldn't go trick or treat with his friends, and I was like, man, that's really sad. I don't know. I mean, it wasn't played super sad, but I just kind of felt bad.
I mean, Kenny's a sad character in general.
Yeah. So I watched that one. Then I watched the one where they all dress up like Avengers and they scoot. One. Yeah, they scoot a stand around through the iPad or whatever. Yeah. It made me think of when I first moved to Korea. We were like, I'll show up at the Halloween parties on the computer. You could just
you go talk to Juice on the computer.
Yeah. Yeah, you could. I had a room where you could go talk to Juice. Yeah.
You teleconference into a bunch of drunk assholes doing the monster mash.
So let's see. I watched those. I've been still watching that show Ratched. I'm almost done, and it's fine. It's okay. I appreciate that it's not as long as like an American Horror Story would be, because I think it's only 8 episodes. I think I would enjoy it more. It's very bright. And I think I would enjoy it more in like the late spring, early summer, because they're like on the coast, and it looks beautiful. The shooting location they chose is really beautiful. It's on the coast. She stays in a motel that's like right off of kind of this cliff, actually, and they do these like drone shots of them driving, those winding roads on the coast and everything. So it looks really nice, but it's not really the mood I want right now. And even just like the color palette of like that retro like seafoam green and shit that they use, it's just like much better suited for like an early summertime. But until that Haunting of Hill House Deuce comes out, it's keeping me occupied. So I think I got like 2 episodes left on that. And I've been on this big retro game kick. And it's weird because I have these certain games that I appreciate now, because like I feel like so many things actually in our childhood really helped introduce us into horror a little bit, in very like subtle kind of ways. Like I've been playing through Super Mario World, and just like the ghost houses are like some of the best fucking like worlds. I love just like going to each little ghost house or whatever. And then also there's this Page Master game. I used to love Page Master when I was a kid, but the whole first levels, or I guess the first world or whatever, is it's a horror realm or whatever. And so there's like Dr. Jekyll's and like just a bunch of horror shit. And so I've just been
gaggle of
playing
Jekylls
through that whole first world, because it's like, I don't know, 12 levels in it or something. And so I've been like going through each one and playing through that one. And then also on the SNES is a game called Lost Vikings, and their whole like first world is horror based. So there's like Draculas and witches and stuff like that, werewolves. And I'm like, man, just like all these fun little spooky things.
Did you give up on Ghouls and Goblins?
Dude, I haven't played it recently. That game, I still could never beat. Now, on top of that, I have been watching people do like speed runs and shit, not just of that game. There's this guy, God, what is his name? Arcus or something? Arcus, I think. He's this guy that I've got locked into watching doing like old NES. I think he pretty much just plays NES speed runs. And he's this goofy guy who he reminds me of that guy who does those food reviews that you guys like. Where he's just very particular. Review bro. He never gets super excited, and he has these like little kind of like ticks that he does. But he wears a cowboy hat always. Like you could go back like 4 years, and he's always just wearing this cowboy hat, and he's got this handlebar mustache, and he's always sitting in this same corner of his house, like for the past 4 years, like nothing changes, and he's just so consistent. But I'll watch him play these like the old Ninja Turtles game that I could never beat, and he'll beat it in like 12 minutes. And I'll like watching him, I'm like, nope, I still could never beat it. Like the shit that he does, it's bonkers. It's like absolutely bonkers. So I have gotten kind of locked into watching some of this because they're suggested to me now. So I'm like, oh yeah, let me watch him beat this game I never beat, or this game I never beat. But I have been getting into the spooky stuff. It's been nice getting into like the retro game and spooky stuff. That's not something I've really done at least like in the past few years. So I've kind of enjoyed doing that. But yeah, new element to the horror season. But that's about it. Bob,
yo,
what have you been watching?
I finally got the Vincent Price Collection 1 from Scream Factory. So I dipped into that a little bit, and I watched a movie called The Witchfinder General.
That's a pretty bad Vincent Price. I wouldn't use that.
Yeah, do you think so, Bob? Is that a bad Vincent Price one?
It's a pretty good Vincent Price. It's also known as the Conqueror Worm.
Bob, no.
Oh no.
Bob, no. No. Bob, no.
I hope that Matthew is very stoked that he can now troll me on every episode. Like it's just built in that he can troll me now.
I don't know what you're talking about, man.
It's a movie that I've been wanting to watch for quite a while, and it takes place in Salem, Salem witch trials, and Vincent Price plays the witch finder, and he's charged to go basically torture the shit out of these women until they finally admit that they are witches. And
I'd be stroking.
It is no,
Randy?
that would be incorrect.
I know what you're after, Bob. I know what you're after.
That would be incorrect. I don't know. It's a good movie. It's one that I don't know that I would say I was able to enjoy because it is like darker than I would hope it would have been. I don't know. Like I appreciate Vincent Price when there's a little bit more tongue-in-cheek type stuff happening. This is like,
that sounds heavy.
it's actually pretty brutal, man. He's like, the character he's playing is like fully aware that what he's doing is wrong. Like he just knows it. Just manipulating the hell out of
that
people.
Cuche, huh?
Man, it's pretty rough. It's pretty rough. But I don't know. There's a whole host of other movies on this collection that I'm looking forward to watching. The Mask of the Red Death is another one that it's supposed to be one of his better movies I have never seen. So I'm looking forward to watching some more of that. What else? I also watched. I kind of broke my own rule and I watched Halloween before October, but I wanted to revisit Joe Bob's Halloween.
It's close.
It is close. Joe Bob's Halloween Hootenanny, which was like his triple feature that he had last October. I watched Halloween 1, 4, and 5. So I just watched Halloween 1 with Joe Bob's commentary, and God, it's so good. It's just straight to the vein. Just straight to the vein. I love it. Oh, man.
Once it hits your eyes.
Oh, my God. It just, it's so sweet.
Be prepared to be bedazzled.
Be prepared.
Are you prepared?
Yeah, I enjoyed the hell out of that again. I also watched Total Recall for the first time ever. Never seen that before.
Oh, man.
It's pretty bonkers. It's like way more involved than I anticipated it would be. I thought it was just going to be sort of like a brainless Arnold action flick. There's like a lot going on, and the effects hold up pretty well. Like I didn't think it was going to be quite so like visually like heavy. Like I figured there'd be like an explosion hair, car crash over there.
You didn't expect to see eyeballs popping?
Yeah, no, and yeah, there's just like it's like way more tech savvy than I was ready for, I guess. So that was kind of cool. Cool to see. I don't know. It's not like my favorite movie or anything like that, but I feel like it's one that you got to see. And I'm glad that I did finally get around to watching it. And of course, I watched Office Space again because I watched that movie like every other damn day. Wow, Office Space.
I didn't realize you watched it that much.
Is the shit.
Does it make you appreciate that you don't work at the insurance firm anymore?
It does, man. I relate to that movie on every fucking level.
You also want to make a jump to conclusions, Matt?
How do you know I haven't already? That's $1 million.
I do
idea.
not.
$1 million.
Around here, that means big money.
It does. It does indeed. That's pretty much all I've been watching this week, really. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into our last segment of the show here. We got to get into our Hotline Scream. If you are listening and want to call and leave us a voicemail, you can hit us up at 904-638-3231. We posed one question last week. Randy, I think it was your idea.
It was.
To pose a question. What was it? You want to run it down for us?
Yeah, basically the idea, we got to talking, and this is in relation to our last episode, but we were talking about the 90s had quite a few doppelganger movies that relate to each other by virtue of what they're about. So, for example, the big one being, for me, in my mind, is Ants and A Bug's Life. Very clearly cribbed off each other, very clearly like one trying to beat the other out, the space race of ant movies. So that sort of thing, and there's plenty of examples of that we brought up last week, like Lake Placid and Anaconda, shit like that. So we were asking, what's your favorite sort of doppelganger set from the 90s or beyond, and just kind of wanted to see what people had to say. We were wondering if there were some that we hadn't thought of.
Right. I was. Yeah, I think we got one response to that, but we do have like 5 voicemails to get through. I believe the first one, it's short and sweet. And it is from the man who chose the movie we just reviewed. The man named Tom.
The man.
See what Tom has to say.
All right, here we go.
Good old Randy moving again.
And that's it.
That's it.
Yeah, and that's true.
He's always
moving.
And
that's true.
How did he know?
Randy be moving. You cannot stop a Randy from moving.
Randy's like a shark. He never stops moving.
That's right. I sleep in motion.
Old Jaws himself. Randy Gandy G. Jaws. Anyway.
Yes. Yep. Perfect.
Swing and a miss.
Rigatoni.
Thank God.
Safe word. Safe word.
All right. We got next up. We actually do have a response to the whole doppelganger movies prompt. Todd called in. Let's hear what Todd has to say.
What up, straight chillin' crew? It's 2 p.m. Todd, back-to-back weeks. I like the question this week on the doppelganger banger movies. Took me down a rabbit hole, though. Little knowledge. They call them twin films. They started in 1934. There's 185 of them. I went back to the 80s and started there. 84, you had Dreamscape versus Nightmare on Elm Street. We all know Nightmare on Elm Street is the one. Gremlins versus Ghoulies. 85, Fright Night versus Vamp. 86, GoBots versus Transformers. One of my favorites in 93, Tombstone versus Wyatt Earp. Last but not least for Soju, Showgirls versus Striptease. Keep chilling. Thanks for all you do.
I've never seen either of those movies. I want to know why that one was for me.
Because you know how to treat the yabos.
Nudity, yeah. Dude, you should do.
I've just never seen it.
You are Mr. Skin for this podcast. That's just your role.
Fine.
You should watch them both this week and then talk about them next week for what you've been watching.
Yes. That's your duty. That's due diligence.
Yeah. But
those are good pulls, though. I mean, I knew they were from the 90s just because that's when I grew up and I noticed it then. But yeah, that's cool to know how far back that goes. And those are some really obvious examples that, if I had thought about the 80s for even a minute, I probably would have come up with Ghoulies and Gremlins. I mean, shit. And fucking Critters, for that matter. That's a trio.
And Hobgoblins. I mean, the quadrilogy.
Yeah. That's the most essential. Yeah. That's clear winner. Ding, ding. This fight's over.
Hobgoblins Go to College is the best sequel ever, yo.
What?
That's Ghoulies Go to College. Idiot.
I know. Yeah, thanks for dropping some knowledge, Tom. Like, legit did some research.
2 p.m. Todd. By the way, I love, Todd, how much you're chewing the scenery as you enter every episode.
Right.
2 p.m. I love it. Good. Go for it, man. Use that radio voice.
But my boy, Soju. Killing it. I also
appreciate you.
I love how everybody is now like time stamping themselves when they call in.
Yeah.
Yep.
What time you calling?
This call was made at Wednesday at 8 a.m. So that's what Google Voice tells me.
Right.
So not exactly accurate, but certainly funny.
Thanks for calling in there, Todd. Next up, we got our boy Hydraberg. Let's hear what Hydraberg has to say.
It's your boy, 629 Hydraberg. I'm just calling in. I just finished watching Thomas's pick this week. I don't even remember what it's called, The Happiness of something. A pretty weird movie. I liked it, though. It was like not my usual thing, but I'm glad he made us watch it. It was weird. The claymation was really weird. It was like every time claymation came on, you could tell that like they didn't have money for special effects, so they went to claymation. But yeah, it was just a weird movie. I like it. The Japanese, they're just weird. But yeah, good pick, bro. I also wanted to just call in for some bumps. None of them will probably be G Baby worthy as good as his, but I'm gonna give a couple a go, and you guys can use them if you want. All right, so here we go. Well, La Ti Da. Interesting. European style. She licked my asshole a little bit. You're a monster. I'll be stroking. Patient. It was all right. It wasn't great, but it was fine. 69, dudes. Around here, that means big money. To the beast. And that's it. I don't want to take up too much more of your time. Just keep chilling. Keep doing what you're doing. All right? Later, guys.
I think
feel bad that some of those cut out a little bit.
A little bit. Yeah. I think Heidelberg might have had a Freudian slip there, where he said, "quote She licked my asshole a little bit," but that is not the line. That's the line is I licked her asshole a little bit.
I want to see how bastardized some of these lines can get.
Yeah. I hope that works out for you, bud. I really do. I'm pulling for you.
I thought the big money one was pretty solid.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, that almost sounded like the bump right there.
Yeah.
He was at least his timestamp was at least accurate. I mean, we can give him that much.
6:29.
Sure. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if we can work in one of these bumps. No promises, as always. But thank you, Heidelberg. We appreciate that input.
I love the Freudy. That's killing me. All right.
She licked my asshole a little bit.
She licked my asshole a little bit.
Did she?
I feel like it'd be much better on the receiving end.
Randy?
What do you think?
That would be my assumption. I can't imagine something that I would like less than an asshole in my face, but that's just old Randy.
I don't think
that's old little Randy moving again.
I love Randy's truthful hatred of the ideas of licking an asshole.
Oh,
I love that has come out.
Hey, look. Do you do you? I just don't want to.
I do me.
I don't want to drink the brown. I just don't want to.
You're not. Right. I don't think you're supposed to drink anything, man.
Rob, it's exaggeration for humor, Bob. Get over it.
Who's
a nice
brown?
tall
somebody
glass
over here's got
brown?
I don't know. I don't drink coffee and I don't drink shit.
God damn.
Not a scat man like Bob, huh?
Self-proclaimed scat man, Bob. We got two more voicemails. Next up, we're going to hear from our boy Corey. What's up, Corey?
What up, guys? This is Chaboy Corey Torgeson calling in to respond to some older things that were on the show. So the episode after y'all reviewed Teeth, Matt from Jacksonville called in and said that he had this idea that it's like, the worst thing for the opposite gender would be something like a man and Wolverine. And my first thought, of course, was that a dude would have 3 dicks coming out of his knuckles. Not that he would have a, razor blade coming out of his dick. Honestly, I think 3 dicks coming out of your knuckles is a little bit more terrifying anyways, but that's just me. And anyways, on the older prompt of, what's your favorite soundtrack for a horror film, I kind of feel like a lot of people forgot. About an empty cottage sitting on the shore. Tourists all left about a month before, and we're gonna have a good time. Oh, we're gonna have a good time. We're going on a fall break, walking hand in hand in the moonlight. So I feel like that is probably the best soundtrack I've ever heard for a horror film because it was just absolutely hilarious for that movie. So thanks, Bob, for randomly picking that several months ago. That's all for now. Take care. Talk to you suckers later.
Can't believe we just got a fall break chorus. That's the last thing I anticipated.
He went for it. He did.
Dude, yeah. Big swings. I respect it. Dude, sure. I was like sitting there like, what is this song? And then, I love it. Great.
All right.
Good stuff. I don't know. I don't remember anything about Wolverine with a blade in his dick.
Yeah.
Much less Wolverine with dick claws.
I feel like I'd much rather have dicks on my hands instead of a blade coming out.
At least, especially if you can retract them, because you just leave them all.
You can please many women with those things.
Snipped, bub.
3 max, really. But that was Matt was calling in after we talked about Teeth. And was just like hypothesizing, like, what if the gender roles were swapped in that movie, what that might look like. And which
might look a little something like.
Oh, that's right.
Like Wolverine
like a superhero
with a bunch of dicks coming out of his fists. I guess. I don't know. Thanks for
how crass.
Thanks for serenading us, Corey. Really appreciate it.
You could slap somebody in the face and make that shit real disrespectful.
Yeah.
You just gotten slapped in the face with 3 dicks, bitch.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah,
then you
could.
just get killed by Magneto or whoever. So
You could do that. Dickslap.com. We got one more.
Dick slap baby.
Dick slap, baby. We got one more voicemail from Wes. Let's hear what Wes has to say.
Hey guys, it's Wes. I just want to say that, Randy, I felt bad. I have a costume idea for you. Something that I'm sure will scare a lot of the children. Just go as your search history, man. Quite frankly, I think most of our search histories would scare a majority of the people. So, yeah, man, just do that. All right, guys, see ya.
Well,
Michael Myers spanking. This is oh my gosh.
Oh, okay. Something happened at the end there I was not anticipating. I think 1 a.m. West just met October 31st Michael.
Oh, we didn't know what time Corey called in. God, we'll never know.
We'll know. It's 9:54 Corey. That's what we call him.
I want to shout out to Wes. Wes is all up in our Slack channel hanging out. He's a regular, and it was his birthday recently. Happy birthday there, Wes.
Yeah, happy birthday.
And I think it's hilarious. He just turned 18, by the way, and apparently he's going fucking buck wild on the Google, looking up all kinds of random shit. You know.
And now that he's legal,
yeah, he's looking at Mike Myers spanking some ladies or whatever. You know, Godspeed, Wes.
Enjoy your fringe sexual exploits, buddy.
Your fringe. Not so fringe, Randy.
Oh, I'm just old school.
Doesn't everybody want that in their lives?
So his suggestion, for the record, was that I go as a Google search for the Surface Book 3 hinge, or
sure, Randy.
Exit clause lease.
Take us to that chatterbait you're always going on about.
Dog, that's not a search. That shit comes to me.
Damn. Just trying to chat you up.
Dude, I mean, I'm sorry you guys have lost touch with your pop-up upbringing, but I still get them bitches and they say all kinds of shit.
I got that pop-up blocker. That's why.
Yeah, mine has not been working very well, obviously.
Is that by design?
Might be time to upgrade. I only allow pop-ups from Pornhub. It's marked as safe.
Hey, Randy, I like your hat. Want a chatterbait?
I'm going to go for Halloween as Peninsula Stream.
Stream.
That's a mistake.
Pay for it.
Thanks, 1 a.m. Wes.
Yeah, man. Good to hear from you. Gentlemen, do you have any prompts you want to throw out there for next week?
Wait, did y'all want to talk any more about 90s pairs?
I mean, yeah, if you got one, buddy, lay it on us.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I didn't. Except hang on.
Tell me more.
There were some movies that I felt like probably had a pairing, but I can't really think of them. So maybe you guys could come up with them. I feel like there was a lot of cowboy movies coming, like almost like a resurgence in the 90s. So I remember, what was it? The one with Leonardo DiCaprio. It was like, The Quick and the Dead, I think. I feel like there was
That sounds like a movie.
There was another one coming out around the same time. It was like a cowboy, like resurgence type of movie. Do you guys?
I mean, he said Tombstone. He mentioned Tombstone and Wyatt Earp.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that was definitely one. There was also Maverick, but I don't think that one landed in the same way.
Let's see. What was it? Tombstone? I've never seen that movie.
Tombstone, the classic. I watched that at Rob's family's place in Georgia. I have a weird memory of that.
Let's see.
Wow, that is a random memory. I don't remember that.
95. Okay, not so close.
Also,
guns. Do you guys remember Dragonheart?
Oh yeah,
that movie.
Yeah.
I feel like there was a counterpart like dragon movie. I felt like there was at least
there
like
was
two
a Reign of
movies.
Fire, but there was a very different kind of dragon movie.
Yeah, and I feel like that came out later.
It might have.
Or maybe just like general fantasy. Was there another? Oh, there was. Maybe I'm thinking of like King Arthur. Wasn't there like a King Arthur movie that came out, and then maybe Dragonheart? I'm thinking of like together. I feel like Sean Connery played King Arthur in a movie or something in the 90s. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
Maybe I can't think of one now. There's a bunch of. I'm looking at the Wikipedia page for twin films now, and there's a fuck ton of these things. K9 and Turner and Hooch. Let's see. Like I said, GoBots, An American Tail, and The Great Mouse Detective. Return of the Living Dead and Day of the Dead in '85.
Both
Weird Science and
classics.
Real Genius.
Yeah.
Back to the Future and Peggy Sue Got Married, which I haven't seen. I don't know anything about that. Let's see. That goes back pretty far too. Fucking goddamn. Gone with the Wind had a double called Jezebel. Like this goes back that far.
Oh my God, that's why I thought about it. Okay, so in 1995, Sean Connery played King Arthur in like a night film. 1995, 96. Sean Connery was the dragon in Dragonheart. 96,
Yeah, nice.
a year later. So that's why I'm pairing them in my. Well, no, that's why I'm pairing them in my mind because Sean Connery was in both of them, and they're both like night films, fantasy like night films. Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of these fucking Commando and Rambo First Blood Part 2, Second Blood. It's all kinds of them. Yeah, there's tons. Point Break and Stone Cold. Don't know that last one. Rookie of the Year and Little Big League. That's one that I noticed when I was a child. There's just so many of these.
Oh yeah, and Angels in the Outfield too.
Yeah, true. That's true. I don't know. Powder and Phenomenon.
We had a ton of those like kid sports movies too, like The Big Green, Little Giants,
Air Bud,
Mighty Ducks. Yeah,
fucking
Air Bud, I guess.
I guess. Truman Show and Ed TV. You guys remember Ed TV? Whew.
Vaguely.
That was actually more like it was like okay, I don't know. We don't have to get into all that. But it's a McConaughey film.
Gotcha.
Pre-respect McConaughey.
All right.
Yeah. We didn't respect him back in the day.
No, people didn't respect the man
him back in the day.
Disrespected man. Now he's God's greatest gift, and I agree.
Damn, Randy.
Greatest gift.
Randy?
It's the greatest gift.
You hit him up on the chatterbaits?
Time is an erect circle.
Damn.
Time
erect circle.
That's all I got.
What that looks like.
Looks a little something.
Right. This.
Oh my God.
No.
Wow. Oh, Randy, God. Put it away. Put it away.
You're a monster.
We are done. That is it.
Yeah.
That's
what a way to go out.
Yeah.
Bob, what are we talking about next week? Something good, I hope.
Yeah. We're going to do something pretty different, actually. We've never done anything quite like this before. So we're going to
be prepared to be bedazzled.
We're going to be...
we are always surprising you guys. Always pulling out something new.
We're going to be ringing in the month of October with something brand new for us. We're going to be reviewing the first 4 installments of The Simpsons Treehouse of Horrors. Ooh.
Yay!
So we're
some of us grew up with that.
Yeah.
Doe, yoink. Don't have a cow, man, etc.
Man, don't have a cow, man.
Eat my pants, right, guys?
Eat my pants.
Eat my pants.
Right?
That's how Bob does it with the kids.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that, man. It's something different, and those are like always fun to throw on around Halloween time, getting the spooky spirit of things. But yeah, and we might even have a special guest on for that episode. I don't know.
What?
We'll just have to see.
What are you talking about?
Bart Simpson?
It's Bort Simpson.
Bort Jepsons. Brought to you by
Jason's
Jepson's
name is
Malort.
also named Bort.
We got one of the guys who plays Bart Simpson at Times Square to come on our show.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
And his dirty costume on.
So yeah, check out the first 4 episodes of The Simpsons Treehouse of Horrors. Get ready for next week's show. Until then, please rate, review, and subscribe to us on iTunes. Follow us on Twitter at STR8_chilling. On Instagram at Straight Chilling Podcast. You can send us an email through our website, straightchillingpodcast.com. If you want to join in on the daily Slack channel conversations, just hit us up on one of those social media outlets, and I'll send you a link to do so. And until next week, as always, all you mother truckers, please keep chilling.
I love being incontinent.